No, nobody wants these two.
Two of them actually need to sit down quietly with a...
What truly happens when a self-anointed duchess brimming with soaring political ambitions faces a brutal public evisceration on live television? It ignites an international firestorm, tearing down the fragile facade of her carefully constructed empire. In a moment that sent seismic tremors through social media and left Hollywood reeling, Saturday Night Live's Colin Jost delivered a devastating blow to Meghan Markle, sarcastically dubbing her the mini Brigitte.
Meghan Markle's characters struggle to balance her legal career while also caring for an unemployed immigrant.
Brigitte Macron. This wasn't a compliment. It was a satirical jab that instantly spiraled into a viral public humiliation. According to numerous well-placed sources, Meghan Markle was absolutely incandescent with rage. What followed was a volatile cascade of events. Private outbursts, frantic demands hurled at NBC executives, and, predictably, yet another catastrophic public relations misstep that further torpedoed Meghan's already tenuous standing in Hollywood.
Meghan has been brutally roasted on Saturday Night Live.
Britain demands in return is that we keep these two.
This was far more than a fleeting joke. It was a reputation-shattering instant for the self-styled Duchess. As the global audience witnessed Meghan's meticulously crafted public image crumble, attention inevitably swung to Prince Harry. How would he navigate the raw reality of his wife being scornfully labeled a lesser echo of a controversial First Lady? Would he rally to her defense, offering unwavering public support? Or would this fresh indignity push him deeper into the quiet fringes of their unconventional life? While his immediate reaction remained veiled, whispers from within their inner circle hinted at a growing discomfort, a silent acknowledgement of the immense strain this global mockery placed on their already precarious public narrative. The mini Brigitte Macron label wasn't just a direct hit on Meghan. It triggered a devastating ripple effect that undoubtedly swept Harry into its wake, forcing him to confront the uncomfortable truths of their chosen path. The entire fiasco ignited with a deceptively simple punchline, a solitary line delivered during a live weekend update segment that reverberated across continents. Colin Jost, with his signature deadpan delivery, announced Meghan Markle's new political podcast, quipping, "Because what the world truly needs right now is a mini Brigitte Macron with a royal title and no clue how actual politics work." The ID studio audience erupted in uproarious laughter, but what appeared to be a harmless comedic jab was anything but. Jost's observation struck at the very core of Meghan's precarious brand. It painted her as a royal in self-imposed exile still, desperately clinging to titles, a political aspirant utterly devoid of genuine qualifications, and, most damningly, a cheap imitation of a European political spouse who herself is often the target of relentless public ridicule. The term mini was more than just a descriptor. It unmistakably implied Meghan was not merely emulating Brigitte Macron, but doing so with striking inadequacy. A less powerful, less credible, and even less respected version. Insiders at both NBC and Netflix report that Meghan Markle utterly unraveled the moment the episode aired. Her public relations team immediately contacted network executives, demanding an unequivocal apology and a complete retraction. She allegedly denounced the sketch as xenophobic and a deliberate attempt to undermine her burgeoning ambitions. Yet NBC stood firm, flatly refusing to issue any apology. In fact, sources reveal a deepening weariness with Meghan's persistent behind-the-scenes manipulations. One producer reportedly quipped, "She expects to be treated like a head of state, but behaves like a D-list reality star." To compound the sheer absurdity, Meghan reportedly blamed her own team for failing to anticipate the joke. Yes, she genuinely believed Saturday Night Live should have sought her approval for their comedic material before broadcast. The level of self-delusion was stratospheric, the sense of entitlement even more so. Now brace yourself for an even wilder twist. Reports surfacing from France suggest that Brigitte Macron herself was far from pleased by the unsolicited comparison. According to hushed whispers emanating from the Élysée Palace, Brigitte burst into her husband's office the morning after the broadcast. Incensed by the association with Meghan Markle, she allegedly delivered a sharp slap across President Macron's face, demanding, "Do I look like that spoiled American narcissist to you?" While the Élysée later officially denied any physical altercation, several French media insiders firmly contend that a profoundly heated exchange did indeed transpire behind closed doors. Irrespective of the alleged slap, Brigitte's team has made absolutely no effort to embrace the comparison. In fact, they have conspicuously and quietly distanced her from any headlines linked to Markle. This entire fiasco has ripped a massive chasm in Meghan's latest narrative, that she is a serious political voice with undeniable global influence. The reverberations weren't confined to royalty or political circles. They permeated the very fabric of Hollywood, where comedians, producers, and studio executives are reportedly growing increasingly reluctant to collaborate with her. According to Netflix insiders, the internal atmosphere has dramatically shifted from cautious optimism to a resounding sentiment of, "We simply cannot keep babysitting her brand." One Netflix showrunner allegedly declined a Zoom call with her after she insisted on a revised creative pitch that would portray her as a misunderstood global icon. A-list celebrities like Oprah and Tyler Perry, once stalwart public allies, have maintained a noticeable radio silence. Hollywood at its core is a business, and Meghan is rapidly becoming perceived as a PR liability rather than an asset. As an anonymous studio executive confided to Variety, "If she can't handle a harmless SNL joke without erupting, imagine her on a grueling press tour when things get truly challenging. That's not a partner, that's a walking, talking HR nightmare waiting to happen." In a desperate maneuver to salvage her image, Meghan reportedly authorized her team to launch a spin campaign, attempting to cast herself as a victim of American misogyny and Eurocentric satire. But even her most loyal supporters weren't convinced. Vanity Fair, typically sympathetic to Meghan, explicitly rejected this narrative, pointing out that SNL lampoons everyone from President Biden to Beyoncé. Meghan, they asserted, is not immune to mockery. Within 24 hours, TikTok was inundated with parody clips, ridiculing Meghan's distinctive voice, her podcast, and even staging mock royal press conferences where she fictitiously demanded Brigitte Macron apologize for simply existing. At one point, someone even conjured a mock perfume advertisement titled Mini by Meghan, satirizing her perceived obsession with elite branding and superficial influence. What Meghan utterly fails to grasp is that public perception cannot be controlled through explosive overreactions. Her incandescent fury only served to validate the core premise of the joke, that she is obsessively image-conscious, hypersensitive, and catastrophically oblivious to the fundamental mechanics of satire in the Western world. This relentless public onslaught has undeniably taken its toll on the Sussex dynamic. Rumors from within their close circles suggest Prince Harry finds himself increasingly isolated, grappling with the fallout from Meghan's escalating media clashes. While his loyalty to his wife remains, the constant public scrutiny and ridicule surrounding her has put an undeniable strain on his personal relationships, particularly with friends from his military days who reportedly find themselves perplexed by his seeming inability to steer Meghan away from one media circus after another. The mini Brigitte Macron incident in particular is said to have deeply embarrassed him, highlighting the stark contrast between his quiet military background and the relentless, often self-inflicted media spectacle that now defines their lives. Adding to the layers of public scrutiny, this entire affair has inadvertently shown a spotlight on the financial realities underpinning the Sussex brand. With major deals like Spotify concluding and Netflix projects seemingly in indefinite limbo, the question of their sustained income and relevance beyond royal ties becomes ever more pressing. The mini Macron incident, by directly undermining her perceived influence and political aspirations, immediately impacts her ability to secure future lucrative endeavors. This public flailing isn't just about bruised egos, it's about the very economic viability of their carefully constructed independent enterprise, a stark truth not lost on the shrewd eyes of Hollywood's power brokers. The perception of hypocrisy also began to bite hard. For a couple who consistently invoked the sanctity of privacy and loudly railed against media intrusion, Meghan's immediate and explosive reaction to a comedic sketch struck many as profoundly ironic. This apparent disconnect between their stated desires and their actual behavior only fueled the public fire, leading to accusations of a selective approach to media engagement, demanding silence when it suited them, yet erupting in outrage when the narrative wasn't entirely within their control. This inconsistency further eroded public trust and empathy, making it harder for even previously sympathetic voices to mount a defense. Moreover, the incident highlighted Meghan's apparent inability to read the room or adapt to the nuanced landscape of American satire. Unlike British humor, which often relies on self-deprecation within the royal family itself, American late-night comedy is notoriously irreverent and equally critical of all public figures. Her reported expectation that a show like SNL would clear jokes with her before broadcast demonstrated a profound misunderstanding of the very industry she so desperately sought to conquer. This glaring cultural misstep, more than any individual joke, underscored her continued struggle to genuinely integrate into the society she now calls home. The long-term damage to Meghan's personal brand equity simply cannot be overstated. Brands, especially personal ones, thrive on consistency, authenticity, and a crucial measure of public goodwill. The Mini Macron saga, with its revelations of alleged tantrums, imperious demands, and blame shifting, shattered any lingering perception of her as a poised, resilient public figure. Instead, it painted a clear picture of thin skin and an almost pathological need for control, traits that are anathema to sustained public adoration, particularly in the unforgiving realm of American celebrity. The very essence of her carefully curated image took a direct, undeniable hit. The repercussions extended beyond immediate public opinion, deeply impacting Meghan's relationships with other influential figures. For someone who has often spoken about women supporting women, her perceived reaction alienated potential allies who saw her response as self-serving rather than empowering. The incident created a distinct chilling effect, as many began to question the wisdom of aligning themselves with a brand that seemed so volatile and susceptible to public meltdown. In essence, the Mini Macron moment didn't just expose Meghan to ridicule, it inadvertently exposed the cracks in her network of support. For years, Meghan Markle meticulously cultivated a narrative positioning her as America's sophisticated answer to Brigitte Macron, a poised, intellectually refined, and fashion-forward figure seemingly destined for significant political influence. However, the Mini Macron epithet didn't elevate her, it ruthlessly exposed her. Across social media and within political circles, the term now signifies a potent blend of pretension, devoid of substance, style without genuine strategy, an echo utterly lacking an authentic voice. A senior staffer at the Democratic National Committee allegedly commented that if she ever harbored aspirations for public office, this incident definitively marked the demise of that particular fantasy. Even the French media couldn't resist savoring the irony. Le Monde reportedly penned, "Comparing Meghan to Brigitte is an insult to the French First Lady. One is educated, diplomatic, and quietly dignified. The other is Meghan Markle." This was no longer just a joke. It was a career-ending punchline. And Meghan tragically walked into it blindly, smiling, posing, and still convinced she was masterminding a complex game of 4D chess. Colin Jost didn't just deliver a joke. He detonated an entire illusion. What rendered this particular roast so devastating wasn't merely the mockery itself. It was the effortless ease with which it dismantled her painstakingly curated facade. Years of meticulous image building, strategic public relations maneuvers, and carefully staged vulnerability unraveled in less than 10 seconds of live television. Because Jost didn't roast a fictional character, he roasted the brand itself, and the public instantly recognized precisely whom he was skewering. The SNL skit landed its blows where it hurt most: her palpable obsession with status, her superficial activism, her performative feminism, and her transparent craving for ongoing relevance. And unlike her previous media skirmishes, the Oprah interviews, the Spotify flops, the Netflix edits, this time she possessed absolutely no control over the unfolding narrative. As if that wasn't enough, the internet swiftly transformed the wound into a raging wildfire of Mini Macron memes. Satirical clips ridiculed her archetypes, her obsessive pursuit of titles, and even the questionable impact of her charity work. Even some of her diminishing circle of celebrity defenders remained conspicuously silent. At its very core, this SNL moment didn't merely mock Meghan. It starkly exposed her as someone desperate for adulation, yet utterly unwilling to face critique, as someone who wanted Diana's legacy without embracing Diana's profound sacrifices, and ultimately, as someone who cannot laugh at herself because, deep down, she undoubtedly knows the world already is.